I now come to the award section of the meeting. The first award is the Roger K. and Helen E. Todd Distinguished Service Award presentation. This is presented to Paul and Pat Strickler for their humble and sacrificial service to Cumberland County Historical Society spanning over 20 years, for their service as CCHS trustees, committee chairs, and promotion of the Society's educational mission. In recent times, we acknowledge Pat for her encouragement and support of the opening of the G.B. Stewart History Workshop, and to Paul for his commitment to the Society's recent Access to History plan. Finally, we acknowledge the Stricklers for their can-do attitude and their ability to work alongside staff on any project that supports the mission of the Cumberland County Historical Society. Pat and Paul, would you come up here, please? I am pleased to present our acknowledgement, and I also have something special here. This is from the Senate of Pennsylvania. Pat Vance has very kindly given them an official congratulations.
Thank you, Kristen, for those kind words. Paul and I humbly accept this honor this evening. It is indeed a special award for us because we both were friends with Helen and Roger Todd, with whom this honor is named. I must share with you that we also maintain a friendship with their great nephews, Bill and Bob Todd. Paul would not want me to say this, but I'm going to anyway. Paul has always been my inspiration for volunteering. So to share this award with him this evening makes it very memorable, and I shall always treasure it. I want to thank Jason and Kristen, the Board of Trustees, our friends that surprised us by being here tonight to support us. Thank you so very much. Our son who came from Atlanta to be with us this evening. To all of you, our heartfelt thanks. It's been our pleasure to serve the Cumberland County Historical Society, and we plan to continue to serve and support this wonderful institution. Thank you for this wonderful honor this evening.
Okay. I'd also like to present the Milton E. Flower Historian of the Year Award. This is presented to John C. Fralish Jr. for his tireless efforts to glean invaluable historical information from important primary source material. Presented to John particularly for his census reconstruction work and newspaper transcriptions and abstracting, which will greatly impact the work of historians for decades to come. On a personal note, those of you who come into the library to do research will know John because he's almost always there. John, will you come up, please?
I want to thank President Fenical for the introduction. Now I must spend the rest of my life living up to it and to this honor by the Society. My parents, both educators, though different, very different in that regard, ought to have been present to see this event. Theirs was the inspiration that has brought me to you. History is essential to education. But for this recognition in particular, two great cooperating sectors of the Historical Society, the board and the staff, deserve my thanks. And I know that it is to the staff, our staff, that I owe by far the most of them. I share this with them. I have a private definition of my life's fascination that I will also share. History is the gift of time by humanity to life. In other words, it presents all life with memory. The same as the fourth dimension, and consequently it is what makes life worthwhile. And it is such fun. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, that's so nice.
It's my honor now to recognize two special people, Elizabeth and George Gardner. And I have to say, I have something here, but I'd like to speak off the cuff a little bit. I came to the Historical Society 3 years ago, and I think at that time, the Gardner Digital Initiative was probably a few years even prior to that in the making. This has been years and years and years of pulling things together, working with the staff and the board, and this is a long process to culminate a project like this. And I want to share just a quick story. I had lunch with George Gardner a few weeks ago, and he said, "Well, where do you want to go?" And I said, "I don't know, where do you want to go?" And after some back and forth, we ended up at the Carlisle Thai restaurant, and we just shared one story after the next. And it was a very special moment for me because it was years working on this very sophisticated project with the Gardner Digital Library, working with Blair, trying to coordinate all of the behind-the-scenes things that you have to do to launch a digital initiative, from server space to online e-commerce to all of the web infrastructure. And to sit with George that day and just have like two buddies together telling stories about Cumberland County history, it really meant a lot to me. And I think that's the point of the Gardner Digital Initiative. We want to get people involved with sharing their story, no matter what their background is. And this project allows us to do that, not only for Cumberland County and Cumberland Valley, but for anybody in the world who wants to see what we're doing. So we'd like to present this award to George and Elizabeth Gardner for all of their dedication to the Historical Society, not just with the digital initiative, but for all the other things that they do for us. And if you both could come up and receive this award and offer a few thoughts, we'd be appreciative of that.
Will you share thoughts first?
Sure.
Okay, all right. When I first ran the idea past the library committee, I don't know how many years ago, 5 or 6, something like that. You never know what kind of a response you're going to get. You know, the library committee, in case some of you don't know, it has a lot of diversification in it. Some people are really bookworms, and some are people just like myself who would like to understand what's going on, but maybe just don't really at times. But I had gone off the library board, then came up with this crazy idea, and I said to myself, well, okay, how are you going to present it? Well, Linda Whitmer arranged a meeting, and then, strangely enough, when I got to the meeting, Linda wasn't there. So I said to myself, well, that tells me a little bit. If she's not going to be here, I got to sell this whole thing on my own. So we went around, I presented the idea, went around the table and asked each person that was in attendance what they thought about it. It didn't take them very long. I got 100% response yes. Now, if you can figure that one out, I'd like to understand it myself. And you can get the library committee, every one of them, with divergent opinions and all of that, to say yes. I figure, well, I don't know. I always thought of myself as a good salesman, but I can't imagine how I could pull this one off. Well, obviously, that was just the start of it. As Jason has said, there were so many loose ends. Every time we turned around, there was something going wrong. We had to replace this, replace that, do this, do that. But anyway, it's worked out. And my fondest hope is that each one of you, and each one of you will encourage each of your friends to put their stories on the digital library. This way, all of the people that you will never have met in your life, but your descendants, will have the opportunity to see just who you were, what you thought, how you expressed yourself. When Elizabeth and I decided to put our story on, I said, well, why don't we just tell how we met and how we enjoy each other, what we've done. Elizabeth got a bunch of pictures together. I got some caps together that I picked up at roller coaster organizations and whatnot. And we told our story. It's out there. And we're getting a lot of response out of it. We have people signing up to tell their stories now. My fondest hope is that each one of you will tell your story on the digital library. It doesn't matter what it is. You can tell your story better than anyone else can tell it. So please, I encourage you to do that. I thank you for having the opportunity to push this just a little bit. It's one of my fondest hopes that we will actually have something here that very few other historical societies will enjoy.
But I can tell you, it was about 5 years that it took it to do this. I was wondering when it was going to be. And I had done this for my children and my great-grandchildren and my family to look at us like we looked at them, only we can see them and hear them now. And I'm very proud of the things that George has dreams about. He always has them coming true.